Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am so excited about this very special episode of Journey of the Master podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we have a very special guest. And I have to tell you, this is one of those dream come true moments because it wasn't long ago that my team and I were talking and we thought, gosh, wouldn't it be fun to do something with Kyle Cease? And as divine orchestration would have it, Kyle and I ended up being at an event together for Next Level Soul, teaching at the event and speaking. And he and his fiance and I all completely loved each other and had so much fun. And we said, we have to do something together. So I've been doing some things with Kyle and his community. And I'm so excited today that you all get to enjoy the amazing Kyle Cease on this episode of Journey of the Master podcast, because we're talking about the number one thing that students ask about all the time: abundance, money, prosperity. And Kyle is the expert on this because not only is he, hi, Kyle.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so happy to be with you.
I'm so happy that you are here and I'm so excited for this conversation. So I really don't think I have to introduce Kyle Cease because everybody knows you. I was seeing the comments beforehand of, oh my gosh, he's one of my absolute favorites. But if anybody doesn't know you, we'll talk a bit about your story because it's so important to what we're talking about today. But Kyle has coached over 15,000 people around the world. He has over 60 million views on YouTube where he shares in his incredible work. He's a New York Times best-selling author, and he's the author of best-selling book, The Illusion of Money: Why Chasing Money is Stopping You from Receiving It. So we're going to talk about that today. And this is all perfect timing because, as Kyle knows, and many of you probably know, we are kicking off our brand new course called Realize Your Divine Prosperity. And we created this, and I know that we were inspired to create this course because this is the time for an absolute shift for everybody to realize their divine prosperity and embody and become the divinely prosperous you. So, Kyle, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be with you. I think you're awesome and wonderful, and your content's incredible, and you've become such a dear friend, and it's so fun to connect with you and, I don't know, just kind of talk back and forth and just watch as the conversation just ascends as we do this. So I'm so happy to be with you, Sarah.
I am so happy too. So I got back from the Next Level Soul event that we were at. And I, like I said, I'm in love with Kyle at this point, and I wanted to discover more about his work. And I was on the Next Level Soul TV platform that they have now. And up pops this documentary called The Illusion of Money. And I turned it on. I could not turn it off. I love that documentary that also goes along with the book. Tell us why you created it. Tell us what inspired you to write the book.
I think one of the things, what I just noticed, by the way, every time I talk, it goes to full screen on me. So I don't get to see Sarah going, So I don't know if I'm just suddenly, like, when you talk, I see both of us. And when I talk, it's like, goodbye.
Okay. And also, if you don't know this, which I don't know how somebody couldn't know this, Kyle is a comedian turned personal development transformational leader. So one of the best parts about Kyle is how funny he is.
Yes. And I'm just saying like if Mark, the one running this, is able to keep us to camera, that'd be, because it's so weird. It'd be like this. It'd be like having a conversation with a person. They go, "So how are you?" And then they leave. And you go, "I'm fine." My perspective it was just me. It was like, oh man, I want to connect to Sarah. So are you doing well? And then they just walk out of the room and you're just like, yes. And then they come back in and do you have cats? And then they just, they're like, I have several cats. And then they just stick a mirror in my face while I answer my own question. So
you will see me nodding and smiling and laughing because that's what I do when I talk to you. So,
and then I was also wondering
why the walls on your room are so bare.
Yeah, well, we just moved here. We just moved to Austin like last week, but I Yeah, no, I was a stand-up comic. I had a Comedy Central career and was a headliner for 20 years. From about 12 to 32, I actually was a performer starting at 12. I was a headliner at 18. And I think the big shift that started in my life was the revelation that when something happens, I'll be happy is not true. And this is a major thing. Every one of us right now watching this think when I finally get over this thing, when I have the breakthrough, even in the spiritual world, all our when something happens, I'll be happy just becomes invisible things, right? So in the old days, it's when that guy stops being a jerk. And now it's when Mercury's out of retrograde. But then I'll be happy then. But still, we're under the illusion that it's later that you're happy. And an insane shift that happened for me is the revelation of when I'm happy, things will happen. And by when I'm happy, I mean okay with everything I feel, okay with what is. And I've been more excited starting in about 2010 of to look inward more than outward. I've been more fascinated by what I am. And ironically, the external things start to get better and better and better as I just kind of understand that the world is mirroring what's going on inside of me. And so a huge shift for me was going to getting okay with what's here, getting okay with what I feel. And this has, in a way, helped me to transcend little false parts of the self that are in fear or think that they're not enough. And one of the things that obviously that transcends is the belief that money completes me, which is an implication that I'm incomplete. And that's not only with money, that's with other people, that's with approval, that's with health, that's with, when I'm finally this fitness, whatever it is, then I'm something. And I believe more and more we're moving to a consciousness collectively right now that actually is shining a light on that might have been a ladder rung in our life that we needed to learn to go up, but we're moving to a higher frequency than that now. And we are moving to a time of surrender. And I have a lot of people that I work with that say things like, I am working 50, 60 hours a week, and no matter how hard I work, I can't make ends meet financially. And I go, maybe it's because you're working 50, 60 hours a week and you're actually chasing money because you think money's bigger than your soul. I find that when you make your soul more important than money, you get both. When you make money more important than your soul, you lose both. And a lot of us strive to make things happen. That can be really nice, but unconsciously, their consciousness is higher than that striver. And so we are here more to receive than chase now. And the more that we receive that you're enough, that you're complete, that your fear of losing money actually has nothing to do with you. In other words, that you're not actually scared of losing money. You're scared of your dad saying, I told you so. Your mom saying, you becoming like your parents, or all these other underlying things are the actual thing that people are scared of. Saying that you're not enough, finally looking at this part of me that was scared to be a failure. These things are all the illusions that we're scared will come to light. But the new frequency that's birthing is really a permission to find a level of love for the part of you that's scared it will be a failure, that's not enough, and all these other things. So when we actually connect more and more to the now, it brings a level of love to the patterns inside that you learned as a child to protect yourself from parents who also had egos because they came from a different consciousness, and you had to match that and create a survival mechanism that was what you needed to be to survive. Now those patterns are playing out in your grown-up life, and they need to know that they're loved too. And the more that they're accepted, the more they dissolve. Ironically, the more they dissolve, the more light comes in, replaces them, the more your frequency goes up. This is a real thing. It's not an airy-fairy content quote. It really is a real thing. And the more things can come to you, because your alignment isn't money completes me. Your alignment is I'm whole as is, and money has to match that. And the right relationship has to match that. And the amazing things have to match that. So a lot of us are discovering the one trying to push to make money is actually in the way of receiving money. And does that make sense? That's kind of the...
Oh, It's perfect, and that's why I wanna have this conversation with you because it's the subtitle of your book. When you're chasing money, you're not opening to receive all that is here for you.
Yeah.
And so I wanna ask you, do you know for sure, without any doubt in your mind, that there is this thing called divine prosperity or true abundance that is here for us, supporting us in every moment?
Of course. And I can already hear, weirdly, I can feel certain people that hear that, well, he doesn't know my story and it's not that easy. And there's a major defense of that story that
Yeah.
people like to go into. And very few people like to defend the divine prosperity that's available. It's very rare to divine the to protect and honor the light that's trying to happen for us. And it's very common to protect our limitations and our past story and our yeah buts. And so I believe that what every person is worth billions of dollars. And the first evidence I have of that to prove that is remember that every dollar that you've ever made came from you, right? Like you were the source of every dollar you've ever made.
Yeah.
Every time you had a guided idea, every time you felt motivated, whatever it was, you were the source of money. Money didn't make you, you made money. Now, an analogy I've used before is, Sarah, imagine you and I are out in the woods, and imagine I round a corner and I find a waterfall. You don't know that I found the waterfall, but imagine I grab a cup, I fill the cup with water, I come back with just a cup and I go, Sarah, look at this, a cup of water. Now, all you see is the cup of water. You didn't see the waterfall. So we know we have this much water. So we will think in terms of lack because we see water as a lack-based thing because we only have this cup. So we're going to ask questions like, will we have enough for water rent? We can't donate any of this water because we don't have enough. We're thinking from a place of lack because we're looking at the money versus the source of it. Now, obviously, if we saw a waterfall, we'd want to be like, everyone, look, there's a waterfall here. We can do anything we want with it. So our job is more and more to stop moving from the protective defense mechanism of the small self that thinks what you are is how much money or how much money you don't have. That you are the infinite source. And this is the actual truth. And the more you finally decide to prove me right, because a lot of egos want to prove this wrong, the more you'll actually free yourself and open up to what's trying to emerge here. What am I holding on to that's blocking me from receiving it, that implies that I'm not protected as is or not safe it is? What are the habits? What are the things in my life? What's the dialogue I'm speaking? Who are the people that I keep in my life that keep me seeing myself as a small separate self that will never make money? If you grew up in a house where your parents said stuff like money doesn't grow on trees and it's the root of all evil, you have these unconscious beliefs in your body that keep you feeling connected to your family unit. And you're not only your parents' kid. In fact, I don't even believe you're your parents' kid. I think you're God's kid. I think you're the now's kid. And even though we feel love for them, a lot of times we like to keep those programs in place of lack so we can stay bonded to those people and feel connected to that story and not feel like that connection is a lie. But that connection is a lie. You're only the now, and the now is an abundant, infinite thing. And it's up to us to move in a way that follows our truest self towards that in order to receive a higher level of abundance, not only in money, but in love and relationships and joy and happiness. It's weird to think of, like, there's been times where I really tried to hustle to lose weight and I would work really hard. And I noticed the more I would hustle, the more the ego wants to do it. And so the ego also comes with a sabotager to show you that it's the ego, right? You'll fight to do this, and then you'll work out really hard and be like, I think it's time for me to eat 9 pizzas because I've done so great. Have this one effort-based thing that always comes with a counter sabotager to show you that it was the ego that did it. Now, you'll notice that I've noticed that to lose weight, I literally have to do nothing. Like fasting is just doing nothing. And all you're doing is receiving a higher vibration when you're fasting. So weirdly, in a week of fasting, there's more change than I could make in a year of efforting that usually comes with a side of sabotage, right? So the more we receive, the more we realize the less I do, but the more that I see, the more that I alchemize what was hidden. And in our body is a lot of little patterns of sabotage and fear and all these things. And the number one thing that they're scared of is being seen. The ego
Say
is
that again.
the number
Say
one
that
thing,
again.
the number one thing that all fear is scared of, the number one thing that your patterns of sabotage and limitation are scared of is being seen. Because when you see it, you suddenly discover there was no truth to it. What's scary is the idea. If I said I have a box here, you better not look in here, you'll be scared of it. But what if you looked in and there was nothing there? That's what fear is. Every
Yeah.
time I start to go deeper in someone's fear, we discover there's nothing really there,
Yeah.
right? And so the discovery of the fear actually is based on nothing and just needs you to look deeper and deeper and deeper, creates a space of awakening that alchemizes the lies inside the body. So instead of making things happen, our job in this time is to just see what's not true, see what is true. It's insane how many revelations, how many discoveries, how many patterns come to light through your seeing. But very few things can change through your force, because the one forcing it is the ego itself anyway. So every time you feel off, the ego comes up with a giant solution, but it's just the ego keeping you from looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the lines in The Illusion of Money is, most people think your time is infinite and money is limited. But the truth is, your time is limited here on earth. Your money is infinite.
Yes.
So talk to me about how money is infinite.
Well, first of all, in the last 5 years, they've printed more money. They just print it. It's not, I
We
don't,
have more money on our planet than ever before, right?
right.
We
They
have
just
more
print it.
wealth, more money on our planet than ever before.
I saw a thing, and I don't know the level of truth in this, so don't quote me as this is the all the way fact, but it's something like 80% of all the money in circulation right now was printed in the last 5 years.
Wow.
There was an insane inflation boom, to kind of keep things floating. So they just make more and more paper that's just IOUs. It's not worth that much even. And they can't print another U. There's literally only one U. And Bob Proctor used to say, your value is based on how not replaceable you are. And I realized the way we find out how not replaceable we are is by receiving the God version of ourselves, because most of us in our egos try to be like everyone else. They try, our ego goes, I want to be like that person. I want to be like that thing. The more you go inward, the more you realize the now, or God, or the universe, or Jesus, or Buddha, whatever you want to say, is trying really hard to give you direct next steps that will dissolve the egoic self and move you towards a higher level of receiving and abundance, right? So we're here to receive the most unique version of ourselves. And then we find that there is a version of you that is not replaceable. And it's interesting, because I went through a little moment of, man, AI is doing some amazing stuff right now. That's amazing, but it's replicating us. So instead of being scared of AI, what our job is to go up in consciousness, because it's going to continue to replicate a higher and higher and higher consciousness. So I'm excited about it in a way, because it's just replicating. And if you bring a new frequency to the world, it'll replicate that. Right? So more and more, our job is receiving the now and understanding that this space around you is a tangible thing. Like our egos look for things that we are familiar with, like a human's approval, money, these physically denser things. And we overlook the space as a tangible thing. But this space has billion-dollar ideas, next steps, total permission, nothing but worthiness. And we overlook it and go, yeah, that's nothing. I got to find a problem to fix. The ego is great at solutions to the problems that it creates. So the ego comes up with this optimism as a solution to its attachment to the pessimism. And all of our egos are really obsessed with trauma and the trauma in other people. And they make that more God. Like, don't leave me, don't be mad at me, don't whatever, more than what am I? Right? So we're here to just receive. This space just loves you. It's awesome. And our job is to receive. And that's why receiving is a much higher vibration than chasing. Right?
So talk to me about practical ways that people can open to receive? Because I hear this question all the time. What do you mean by receiving? What am I supposed to do? Right?
Yes. I was, yeah, there's a lot, and I have a lot for that. I was talking to someone awesome, but they were saying, I want to contribute more in the world. And I said, that's awesome. They go, but I want to contribute like you do. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you make money for contributing and people recognize you places for contributing. And I said, I don't know that it's contributing you're actually seeking there. You just gave two examples of you standing out. And I said, and the examples you just gave are me receiving, not contributing. Like if you want to contribute, you could just pick up trash outside, but you want to be seen for it. So you actually want to receive. And I said, the more you can receive that that's what you want to receive, the more you'll go up in vibration and accidentally contribute. But trying to force contribute and being seen for it is the opposite thing, right? So the first thing is very, very often when I wake up, I listen to silence for a long time. Sometimes I'll go an hour, sometimes 2 hours a day. A lot of people say to me, I don't understand how you have time to listen to silence for 2 hours a day. And I say, I don't know how you have time to not, because I will wake up and I will think, I got to call this person. I got to do this thing. I got to whatever, get this thing done. And then I usually listen to silence for a couple hours and I think I totally don't have to call those people. And I realize how many things I don't have to do, because the one that said have to do is an egoic construct trying really hard to stay alive and has to call them so they don't not like you, so they don't make something up about you, so they don't attack you, so they don't whatever. And it's fear that has to do. And the more that you go up in frequency and listen to silence, the more you do what calls to you, what expands you, what you get to do. And people trick themselves and go, I'd love to go do that, but I got to make money. And it's like, no, it's got $1 million idea for you right now that'll call to your soul, but it's not within the realm of your ego's small thinking. That was, I'll give you a great example. I had maybe, I don't know, 5 months ago, this stuff where I was like, I want to grow my company. I want to do other stuff. And then I was like, never mind. I'm just going to meditate. I listened to silence for a while and I had this idea of a sketch where this was just fun and funny, right? I thought to myself, it just showed up in a meditation. What if enlightened people or awakened people got into a road rage incident? And and they had no problem expressing their awakening while still being in the road rage vibration. And this thing just called through to me. And that was all I needed. I didn't know what the sketch looked like. And I called a few friends of mine and I had an idea. I said, let's just shoot this. So check this out. I called a friend that lived in Austin. I called JP Sears. And I called him and said, I have this idea for a sketch. I also called a couple others. I called Aaron Abkey and then was like, I'll just fly out to Austin to shoot this. So I just then said, here's what we do. We shot it in an hour. It was so funny. We edited it. We put it out. It's now at 3.4 million views on my Instagram. And at the end, it just says, by the way, Kyle Cease made a meditation bundle. I also had this guided thing that said, why create a hurdle from people coming to you? What if I make a guided meditation bundle and make it cost almost nothing? So I made this meditation bundle that was like almost hour-long meditations that they can get, by the way, at kylecease.com/meditations. And I made it $20 for the bundle. And I could hear all the you have to from other speakers saying, dude, you got to charge more for this or whatever. And I'm like, why? Why would I make it hard for someone to just get it? It doesn't cost me that much to make it. Like we make it once, it just goes over and over. So I slapped that at the end of the road rage sketch and just said, also Kyle's meditation bundle is out. And then we watched as like every other minute from January through now, we sell a meditation bundle. Like it's just constant, right?
Yeah.
So we start to see these things sell. Now, this was not a route that my ego that wants to build its business would have thought of, right? It's trying to make it happen from a lower frequency that doesn't receive higher ways that you don't even know. And by the way, that was also the day when we shot it that I was like, what if we moved to Austin? So now we just this last week moved to Austin. because we went to Austin to shoot the thing. So the guided meditation came with, move to Austin. Here's a sketch idea that was totally out of the realm of what your mind would have thought of to build your business. And if my only goal was to build my business, I would have done something that wasn't as awesome, fun, funny, unique, or pattern breaking as a sketch of a road rage sketch that now I'm watching in like Russian translation. Like there's literally, I'm watching me and my fiance Amber with a man translating her in Russian. It's all over the world. And it's a like a 3-minute sketch that's hilarious because you're watching people in a road rage thing fighting over a parking spot, but they're owning their insecurities and it's so funny. And I did this years ago with a sketch called How Enlightened Families Argue. And it was like a family at Thanksgiving, and that ended up being 11 million views and ended up totally booming my career in ways that I could have never thought of. Because when we think, how do I do this? We look at what we've done so far. We don't make room for kind of paradigm busting higher frequency things that are trying to happen for you. And if you can learn to follow a thing, even if you can't see that it's relevant to what you are hoping for, it's just the fact that it feels exciting, fun, and good, and follow that. It seems to openly contain a ton of other solutions to other problems that you are going to try to egoically fix at the same frequency as the problem. So yeah, that's kind of the discovery, is like listening to silence and receiving the now, right? That's the first thing to receive, is the now, right? If I sit in silence, I'm receiving the now. It starts to dissolve the egoic patterns. They start to come to light. But the number one thing to receive is the space around you, because the space around you is very peaceful. But we literally go, I'm in my head and I need to go through my phone and find watch the news and where's there a war going on, and literally not pay attention to the peace that's around us and create chaos and peace, versus receive the peace that's full of all kinds of solutions, healing, billion-dollar ideas, trauma release, everything, right? So
you brought this up a couple of different times. And again, the whole intention of this is for people to realize that they already are divinely prosperous. The divine prosperity is already here. You don't need to do anything to create it and make it and go find a way to print it, right? It's already here. But as you said, it's at a particular frequency. Yes. It's not in the fear and the lack and the limitation and the doing and the efforting and the working 50 or 60 hours. It is in the frequency of love, your own self-love, which you talk about in the book, how important your own love for yourself, that when your soul is bigger than money, then you have both, right? But it's this frequency of love that you come into, this presence, this power, all of your powers in the now moment, where all of this is. And as much as this is about money and having the money to do what you're inspired to do, and having the money to create the things that you want to create and have the experiences you want to have, I think what people want as much, if not more, is the freedom that you described when you say, I had an inspiration and you had everything that you needed to act on it. You had the freedom to go to Austin. You had the financial freedom to create it. Freedom, that fulfillment. What people want is exactly what you're talking about, the inspiration. That is where the magic happens. But again, it's at a particular frequency that is probably where you haven't operated in your relationship with money for some time, which is so important to understand. And if your brain can't make any sense of this, to me, if you can understand that the divinely prosperous you has always been, divine prosperity has always been here. It's at a frequency that's available to you when you shift into that now moment, into presence, into stillness, into peace, into joy, into love. And then you are becoming the frequency of the divinely prosperous you that has always been. And the money is fun. It's great. You say something in your book. I loved it. It was something to the effect of, if you want to be extremely wealthy, I want that for you, right? But it's not. Wealth is so much more. Prosperity is so much more, right? It's well-being, it's fulfillment, it's freedom, and yeah, it's having the money to do what you're inspired to do. So, talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'll offer one thing. The first thing I want to say, because I watched as my mind would go, oh, I want to go off on that. I want to go off on that. That was such a good point. The highest frequency there is now. It's a higher frequency than the excited high that we're looking for. Like, we've trained ourselves that falling in love is love, that, hitting $1 million is the goal, right? That's what I call jackpot high, meaning like I hit jackpot. And if a person goes to Vegas and hits the right slot machine and hits jackpot and wins $1 million, they're so happy, but they're happy because a circumstance happened. So now they're attached to the circumstance and they want to feel it again. And then you see those people that are in Vegas the next day for all day and they're losing it because the high comes with a low. But the weird thing is the high and the low exist within the now. And there's been an old kind of idea of law of attraction that has been wonderful and focus on what you do want. And I love it. It's very positive. It's awesome. But in our body is also some energies that we find to be negative too. And we're moving to a time where those have to be seen too, right? So it's like, I'm going to make it happen so that I'm not a failure to my dad in 1978. Then what's going on is that needs to be seen now. So the more I listen to the now and the more I'm here, I realize I'm the now, and it's a space for all of it. I actually believe 2020 was kind of an amazing, dark, but miracle year in a way that, like, in 2019, almost all of us energetically had our circumstances going how we wanted it. And it was almost as if like you have a 1-story house and everything's perfect. 2020 is almost like we found there's a door to a basement. And the good news is your house has a 2nd story below this story. But the bad news is there's rats and dead bodies and stuff like that. And by that, I mean shame, fear, I'm not enough. Those things are coming to light in this time. So the cool news is you've expanded to a consciousness that can see bigger, and it can alchemize the darkness through the now. The old energy goes, I don't play with that darkness. I just make things happen and chase. And it's almost a negation of the boy or the girl inside that feel like they're not enough to their parents, that they'll never be loved. So the now, if you listen to it long enough, just here, the old energy kind of has a consciousness of, what do I do? How do I get over it? You're already escaping it with your mind. The old self-help goes, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to heal this. Where did this come from? And you're like the searcher and seeker that alchemizes yourself. But as we keep going up in vibration, meaning like we are consciously just going up, right? Like, people think this is a hard time. It's a dark time for some people, but the only thing that's happening is everything that at once was hidden is just coming to light. We're just seeing what was dark. The same energy of control that existed in the 80s was there then too. We just didn't know it, right? So we're just seeing this thing now for the first time, and it seems scary because it's breaking apart our false sense of what we are, which was not true and is way smaller than what we actually are. So there's nothing bad happening, just an exposing of what's scared in you, what you thought you were, and everything. So the more I listen to the now, the more that it has to break apart those false me's, right? And so that to me is the highest high, the now, which has no chasing, no excitement, no effort. It's just here, right? And this now that can hold space for all your darkness, also, the more you allow the accepting of your dark energy, the higher it can reach. So it's really weird because when I coach people, I actually help them fall in love with their darkest fear. So if someone wants to be really rich, I actually ask them to say out loud to the pattern, you're allowed to be totally broke in my body. Notice I said allowed. This is not control. We're not aiming for broke. We're ending our control of being broke, which has created our desire for rich. In fact, most people desire to be rich because they're scared of being broke, not because it calls to them to just be the abundance that they are. So a lot of people are just like, I'm going to be so this, and you can feel the energy that you could say to them. And if you're not rich, what happens? Then they start to be like, then I'm a failure. It's not even just that I'm homeless. It's that there really is an energy of like, then I'm embarrassed. There's shame. And I find by saying to that shame, you're allowed to be not enough in my body. You're not manifesting not enoughness. You're actually handing it over to a higher frequency. And so whatever we're most scared of, I love to play out completely and watch it fall apart. And then I watch the universe give me a whole much better, higher version of light, because the one that's trying to control your situations is really a 5-year-old inside of you trying to not be abandoned by your parents in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So shifting from trying to control all of this to becoming the person that's ready to receive whatever it is you want to experience. So how do you become the person that's ready to receive divine prosperity?
The first thing I think is that we're actually on this planet to learn love, and we're on this planet to learn unconditional love. Most of us have learned love for our positive thoughts and people that have a lot in common with us. We haven't learned fully yet how to love shame, how to love depression, how to love fear, because everything that seems scary is actually scared. In other words, everything that, oh, my dad, he was so scary, he was so whatever. Yeah. Well, you go deeper, you'll find a little boy that became that because he never got to alchemize his trauma, and that you're actually holding your dad's pain. And then when you're wanting to go do something, you might hear a voice that goes, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to do this? You're not enough. No one cares about what you have to say. And you realize, oh, that's my dad's fear, or that's my mom's fear, or that's what I taught myself in response to them. And then what it needs is for you to see that it's not scary, but it's scared. And you start to realize that the pattern that's shaming you in your own body is scared. And it's scared of you seeing its true essence. It's scared of you seeing that it's just a box that's empty and not a giant, dark, scary thing. And when you start to move into your true essence, you're seeing from a deeper level, will alchemize this false, scared, separate self, and you'll move more and more to a higher level frequency. You know, there's so many things that we're scared of offending people. We're scared people will leave us. One thing I've noticed now, this is going to sound really weird, the vibration of what I'm scared to lose is usually something I need to lose. In other words, my fiance, Amber, and I are in a lot of joy. We're in an amazing relationship. It really is incredible. And I'm not scared to lose her nearly as much as I enjoy being with her. I find that it's usually one primary feeling or another. The people that you're constantly scared to lose are actually people often that you'll feel relieved when they go. Because they have a dense energy that matches a dense energy in you of shame that holds them. But like, I love what I do for a career, but I'm not sitting here constantly scared all day that I'll lose it. The things that because it fills my heart and takes me higher. Isn't it weird how much, if we're talking about the unconditional love of the universe, we're not scared to lose that. One, because we know it's always there. But it's something for us to receive and move up to. I'm not scared to lose this space of peace. I'm scared to lose the aspects of myself that are ready to fall apart anyway, to make room for the receiving of peace on a higher frequency.
I love that you said this, because one of the stories that I literally had to stop and take it in for a second. But one of the things that you said is the universe is changing through you. And specifically the woman who had the food nerd company. And you said, she said, it's the universe healing itself through a company.
Yes.
And so how is the universe changing through you?
Yes.
As it relates to everything that you just said.
It's so funny. That's a premise I haven't played with for a while. I would have forgot I ever said that. But yes, the more that you listen to what feels expansive and what feels amazing and what feels true, and you don't do this thing where you check in with everyone else who maybe didn't feel that thing, because the source talks directly to you. So this is what we do. It's like we feel this calling that might expand us, and then we ask someone who didn't feel it, or you're just scared to receive a higher version of yourself, so you look for permission slip out of it. So you ask kind of a different dense energy, like, do you think I should do this? And they'll be like, that's crazy, you got to be practical and responsible. To me, the most responsible thing you could do is follow your soul. But that the more you understand that that expansive feeling that it's coming through is a preview. It says, when you listen to this, you're going to feel this more and more and more, and will alchemize the old energies that say yeah buts to this, and you'll move more and more into the universe. The more you move into that, you'll realize it has abundance for you. It has $1 million careers for you. And here's the funniest part. Your spending will go down because you're so aligned with your soul. You don't need all the addictions. So you stop buying the alcohol, you stop buying the lower vibe things. You don't need to be significant to everyone else. So you don't need to buy the most expensive car or house or whatever. You can. I'm not shaming that. But if you ask yourself what your soul wants, it wants the now, it wants to create, it wants to be free. And these are things that either don't cost any money or make you money. So the more you go up, you'll notice the things that you really want might be a smaller house in the woods that maybe doesn't cost as much as the mansion in the city. And you might want, you know what I mean? You might want
absolutely. Yeah.
What takes you to you. And it's both much more abundant and it's much less expensive at the same time. So it's trying to birth through you. And the more you do this, the more you realize it's got next steps for your career. It's got next steps for your creativity and flow. The more you receive it, the more it creates the universe through you. And the more I do this work, the more I'm getting, I believe it's literally all the way a mirror view, like all the way.
Yeah.
Every time I find something I'm worried about, I let myself feel it collapse. I know I said that, but I'm thinking about on YouTube, there is a one-on-one I put on my YouTube channel at Kyle Cease. And it's a trauma therapist working with me, which was a real honor. And she said to me right out the gate, she has this big fear of World War III happening. And so, you know what I had her do? I actually had her feel World War III happen in her body and say, you're allowed to happen. And she started feeling it and crying it out and releasing it. And this made the her that was going to try to control World War III, because in her childhood, we started uncovering trauma and abuse that she went through that created a protector so she's never abused again. But your protector that shows up literally has no job if it doesn't see the world as dangerous. So the protector doesn't want to die. So our ego looks for all the problems and all the fears and all the things in the world. It'd be like hiring a security guard. A security guard's job is to find the bad guys. If you have no bad guys, the security guard's fired. So the ego is constantly looking for problems. And when we allow all the problems that we're worried about literally happen inside, they dissolve and a new world births. Like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And now that you're not holding your company that could fall apart in here, now that you're not holding everyone will leave me in here, now that you're not holding what if I go broke in here, your 5-year-old isn't running your finances, your business, your relationship. It's now you're handing it to God and not a trauma response to deal with this. And you will be shocked at how differently you see the world and how much will work through that.
Does everyone have a calling?
Yes, but even more important, they do. But even more important, the first thing that I've noticed and love about the idea of purpose is that I've now really understood that every single thing is purpose. Yeah. Like it's kind of an FU to God to say, I got to find my purpose. Like, I don't matter that you created me yet. It's when I finally figure out that I'm an accountant or whatever. Like, you know, and what I find is that my hard times, I've been through some hard times, that was on purpose. That I was just sitting on the couch at one point and did nothing. That was on purpose. Still ideas showed up, receiving happened. You can't get out of purpose. Like it's you know, there's no such thing.
You are your purpose.
Yes.
And everything is your purpose.
Yes. And you might have a part, well, what if I just watch TV all day? I swear to God, you'll discover a purpose even there. And that's not the goal. Don't keep dipping your vibration for that. But the funny thing is, you'll discover that's too heavy to do, and you'll want to let go of it and go do something else. Like even when we go off from our highest self, we course correct. You know, anyone that's watching this interview this far will have no problem always course correcting, because you've accessed some part of you that is truly seeking a highest self. So even when you're off, it's fine. It's just taking you and showing you something else that needs to be seen on a higher dimension. So there's no such thing as even being off, but you are your calling. But yes, the more you get that it's all on purpose, the more you realize everything's okay. The more everything's okay, you're going to be shocked at the level of receiving of magical things that are going to, and I mean magical, not as hyperbole. Our ego sees things from such a small dimension and from a very logical dimension. And, you know, there's a book called Course in Miracles, and life is just very full of miracles when we stop moving from the limitations of the ego that only sees things in a linear line. When you listen to the ego, if you made $100,000 a year, then you might, from the next, let's figure out what our next year is. Maybe you'll come up with, next year we'll make 120,000. Yeah, your ego is thinking from a linear line of what you're used to. But God goes, you're worth billions. Like you just have to undo your how. You have to undo your how. This is big. Stop being so married to a how. The ego goes, how do I get there? Because you're going to egoically be the one who makes it happen versus you are there. So a much higher question than how do I? That's an old dimension, great motivation level self-help question. How do I make it happen? A higher one is what's here. Because how has a linear timeline that doesn't include that timelines change. And if we stop thinking in terms of time and just go, what's here? You might notice that you're an elevator, not a floor. And the one saying, how do I, is thinking, how do I make this floor better? But the more you go inward, the more you heal, the more you realize you're an elevator going up that always, so you might look down a timeline at a room, but it's the next day, it's another one. So you stop being so attached to even a solution that's the answer, because the next day a higher one's happening through you. So instead of trying to achieve results, receive vibration and watch as results have to happen as a byproduct, right?
I love that. Yeah. What's here in the now.
Yeah.
That's where you receive from what's here in the now, not what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. What's here?
How do I make this happen?
Like if someone watches this and goes, that's great, Kyle, but how do I get there? You just shrank your consciousness to your ego is going to figure this out. Yeah. So what if I say this and instead you just start to go, what's here? Now, a bunch of stuff might come up that you think is irrelevant. You might go, there's a sensation or a block in my chest. There's gunk in my throat. There's a feeling of not enoughness. Oh, maybe the universe is about to purge limitations. So what happens if you in the now say, you're allowed to be here. I love you, fear. I love you, shame. I love you, you're allowed to be here in my body, because I've never loved the part of me that's scared to fail. I've never known life if I love the part of me that's scared I'll go broke. Maybe if I love that, it'll be seen. And maybe if it's seen, it'll dissolve. And maybe if it dissolves, I won't be in that field anymore. So usually when we just say what's here, often sometimes pain shows up because you're looking deeper than your ego usually searches in order to escape what you're now looking at. So the second you say what's here, all the limitations start to come to light because they're ready to come out, because you're looking from the now and seeing things how God sees it versus your ego, who thinks that you're literally a separate self that's trying to chase an outcome so you can be enough to your dad in 1981.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the year
So
for sure.
good. Yeah. So good. So good. True abundance. What does true abundance mean to you?
Now, the receiving of the now. Everything that's ever happened exists within the now. This is not an airy-fairy sentence. You know, I said this when we were working together, but someone was talking about this thing that I hear a lot and you hear a lot about. That's great, Sarah. That's great, Kyle. But what about the real world? I don't know if you remember my riff about that. There's this idea we have that this thing we're saying isn't realistic. And that the idea of what most people think of as the real world is I go home, and even though I'm safe in my house, I come up with all these ways that life could go wrong. I see visions of my bank account going broke, or a war happening, or people not liking me, or everything falling apart. Even though you're safe in your house, your mind is coming up with a fantasy of all the ways things could go wrong. And this thing that we do is a fantasy. That's a negative fantasy, but it's still a fantasy. And we call that the real world.
The real world. Yeah.
And I say, what's happening here? Well, my heart's beating. I feel sensations. I'm actually an alchemist and able to alchemize my false selves. These are literally happening tangibly. And that's called the airy-fairy world. But this thing we're saying is the real world. And many of us have lived a life of holding up false baggage and keep it going, to keep a fantasy of problems going, to keep lack going, to keep addictions going, and call that the real world. The second we realize that their language is backwards and this is the real world, you're free.
Yeah. True abundance is the now.
The now
True abundance is the now. And it's all here in the now moment. All of it. It's all here.
Yes. And notice how when I say that, I even know that all of our egos go, yeah, but what about? It does not want to receive the now. It goes, yeah, but, and in the now where everything's fine, it will pick and choose and create a problem and go, it's not for me. But what we could do is receive the now, let a pattern do that, bring love to it, and watch it dissolve. Because
and watch the light flow in.
Yeah. Stop fighting for proof of your limitation. It's time to just stop fighting for that. Receive the abundance of the now. It's insane how abundant you are. And this is what I keep saying, prove me right.
Yeah. I love it. And if you take one thing away from this, stop fighting for your limitation. Stop fighting for your limitation. People ask all the time, well, how do I open to divine abundance? How do I create abundance? Notice when you're doubting it and denying it. Mm-hmm. Notice when you're fighting for your limitations. And don't judge that part of you. As Kyle said, allow that part, and you will see that it just fades away. And then you really can't even say something like that anymore.
Yeah. And your attachment to circumstantial proof that it won't work will dissolve, right? Like, it's very easy for the ego to pick and choose and find where, but like that is ready to go. It's all, and by the way, this is something that's pretty trippy, but I realized that higher that's trying to help you is actually you. In other words, the one that's falling apart, like the amount of things that I thought I was through limitation that later dissolved and I still existed. How many limiting beliefs did you believe at one point and think was you? And then it left and you're still here. So since every limitation can fall apart, there's no way you're a limitation. So stop calling yourself the lower self that's getting this guidance from a higher, as much as instead we receive that that's me guiding me towards more me.
Yeah.
And all it wants to do is break apart the yeah, but limitation. It's just a weird revelation that I'm not my beliefs. So every belief I've ever had, I've had an opposing belief. And that's why often you have the opposing belief, because this thing is not what you are. So it comes up with the counter all the time. But I'll say to someone, okay, there's this, I've had it where I said to someone, there's this positive belief you have, but it comes with this negative belief. I say, which one do you think you are? And they'll go, I know, I'm the positive belief. And I go, no, no, no. You're the one holding both of these, right? You're the whole thing. And it's even bigger than the positive belief system. So what you are is even bigger than the best vision board you could ever paint for yourself. What you are is even bigger than, you know what I mean? You're so much bigger than the biggest you can see for yourself. Right. And so, yeah.
And that's the divinely prosperous you.
Yes.
And it's who you always have been and who you always will be. And so if you're wondering the how is now. The how is now. So amazing. Oh my gosh. I just have absolutely loved this conversation. I know it's just the beginning of so many fun things we're going to do together. In fact, I have a broadcast this afternoon on Inspire Nation. I think it's, if you're watching this live, it's airing today with Michael Sandler. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're having a conversation with Kyle. He's like, I've been wanting to call the two of you and do some sort of event together. So I know this is just the beginning of all the fun things that we're going to do in these amazing conversations. Oh my gosh, with all of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. I know you've got a lot going on. You've got visitors, you're moving, and you made time for us today. I appreciate it so very much. I have loved this conversation. I am reading all of the amazing comments here of how much everybody loves you. Their aha moments, fantastic, incredible, love, pure loving brilliance. Amazing, amazing, extraordinary. Yes, thank you, thank you. So as I mentioned to everyone, we are beginning our brand new live course called Realize Your Divine Prosperity, a guide to true wealth, fulfillment, and freedom, really becoming the frequency of the divine prosperity that you already are. So it starts on Tuesday, May 20th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Registration also closes at the same time. There you go. Registration closes on May 20th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So I hope you will consider joining us for that. Kyle has amazing things. As I said, if you have not read this book, get this book and read this book. And not to be a spoiler alert, but at the end of the book, there is an action item to take at the very end. And it is, now read this book again. And I absolutely loved it. I got so much out of it. The documentary that you did that is out there in the world by the same name, The Illusion of Money, you can get it on the Next Level Soul TV streaming platform, which is so awesome. You'll find so much more Kyle there. But you can go to his website. You can go to his YouTube channel. There were some questions about where to find those videos, and they're on your YouTube channel and your Instagram. You have changed the name of your membership program to Infinite Expansion, which used to be the Access to Everything Pass. Is that what it was called? I love that.
Yeah, we had the Absolutely Everything Pass, and I'm realizing not only did we move this week, but we changed the whole website this week. And I don't even know what the link is to do you know what the website is to get Infinite Expansion? I have two teammates here and we're all stunned. Yeah, go to kylecease.com, but we have a membership site that we are now going into our 8th year, and it's incredible. And we did change it. It's been for 7 years. It was the Absolutely Everything Pass. And the reason it was called that is because we literally gave you everything. There's all my past courses on money, entrepreneurial courses, relationship courses, everything there. And I do a live call every Sunday and every Wednesday. And we do a guided meditation on Sunday usually, and then a Q&A and a shift people. And we do a lot of hot seats where people come on and we literally, in an hour, this is what I do. We see the illusion inside of them. Like if anyone gets a chance, go to my YouTube channel and watch me do a couple hot seats. I do a ton of one-on-ones with people. And you will see that all of your pain is a lie. And it's not something to ignore, but all of your pain needs to be seen, but it can be alchemized. And what I do is in an hour, we shift people, and it's a crazy experience. So yes, please join us at Kyle. Go to kylecease.com and find it. I don't quite know where it is, but we just changed the links on it. But it's awesome. I bet kylecease.com/everything still has it too. But as you can see, we just moved. There's no picture behind me. It just looked like this crazy nothing happening, but there's so much.
There's so much happening. And I saw the video that Amber sent me of your new place, inside, outside, and I can feel the expansiveness. I can feel this is just absolutely the most incredible opening to the next chapter of your incredible, extraordinary life. So I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for Amber. I love you both. And this has just been amazing. I hope my community has loved every moment of getting to know you. And I see lots of people from your community joining us too. And so happy to have them here. So thank you so much. Wow.
And I want to mention the event that you're doing, that you were plugging. What's it called again? Divine Prosperity?
Realize Your Divine Prosperity. Yeah, starts May 20th. Yeah.
I've done this work for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of people, and it's actually rarer that I find someone that I align with so much. And I just want anyone to know, if they have a chance to work with Sara Landon, they should take it. That event is going to be amazing. She's awesome. She's the real thing. She's awesome. And she's got a huge heart and is truly channeling some amazing stuff. And Amber read your book, the 15 Principles book, and loved it. What? She's on your third book right now. So Amber, who's my fiance and is flooded with all kinds of different content from me, she's leaving it, going to you now. But she just loves you and is like, these are the real things. So I'm honored to be in this with you. I'm so excited to know you and I both work for the same boss. And, we are here, and we're here truly finding ourselves. And I believe the one thing that I would offer, I hope this isn't too long, is that your frequency is creating more change on the planet than all of our actions. And we're making a ton of actions, but you going to a higher frequency, going up the Hawkins scale up to 600 or 700 is worth more on the planet than if you were at a 400 and sell 1 billion books, right? So know that you are creating contribution just by healing yourself, just by going to a higher vibration. So I believe very much that what I'm offering and what you're offering are things that truly are worth so much more than money. And there's something that takes you to a vibration to get that you're worth more than money. So please join us on these things that we're doing, because your contributional level moving at a higher and higher vibration is creating insane, intense change on the planet. Remember, I know not everyone knows the Hawkins scale, but a person that goes up to a place of unconditional love at 700 is counterbalancing 70 million people under 200. Really take that in. One person's higher vibration is counterbalancing and making an average vibration of a world where it will be impossible for there to be war and control. All of our false selves are falling apart into the true light that we are. So support yourself with the work that Sara or I are doing. It could be the most important thing you do for yourself. And I have here that it is kylecease.com/everything. So go to the absolute
Awesome.
And I'll bring you back on mine, and I will be at anything you ask me to be at, because we love you.
I love you too. And we will put those links down below in the video as well, so you can easily find them. I couldn't have said any of that better myself. Your greatest contribution, your greatest gift to the world, your greatest gift to anyone that you love is your own vibration and your own frequency. And that is your most important contribution to the earth, the planet, our beloved human family. And it's why you're here. So thank you for being here. And all of you who have, like Kyle said, if you watched the video so far, we know that you care about that as much as we do. And so we're so blessed to do this work. I know I am. And this was so much fun. So we'll put the links below. And until our next magical, amazing co-creation, I love you. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for being here. I love this community. Have a beautiful rest of your day in the now. Divinely prosperous you. So thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Sarah.